Welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report, your daily source for Black news, views, and opinions. Today's Thursday, June 23rd, and I'm Mimi Brown.
And I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi Lobo. And on today's report, President Biden is calling for a 3-month suspension of the federal gas tax in an effort to help cash-strapped Americans with skyrocketing fuel costs. This, as critics say, a suspension will not do much to ease gas prices. Meanwhile, Brooklyn Center, Minnesota will pay several millions of dollars to the family of Dante, Wright, the young black man who was killed during a traffic stop by a cop who says she mistook her gun for a taser. Then the owner of an insurance agency in Maine is coming under fire for a sign that was taped to his business's door on Juneteenth. We have that story.
Plus, Team Rock manager, director, and United Justice Coalition founding member Danya Diaz is here to tell us more about the upcoming Rock Nation Social Justice Convention. And Chris Brown is revealing which music mogul passed on signing him. We have all that and so much more. This is Our Voice and Our Truth, so let's get it.
President Biden is calling for a 3-month suspension of the federal gas tax in an effort to help cash-strapped Americans with skyrocketing fuel costs. Suspending the gas tax would save about 18 cents a gallon for gas and 24 cents for diesel fuel. Now, critics say the suspension would do little to ease gas prices. The president is calling for others to help.
Calling on states to either suspend the state gas tax as well or find other ways to deliver some relief. State gas taxes average 30 cents per gallon. Already, some states have acted. In Connecticut and New York, the governors have temporarily suspended their gas tax as well.
House and Senate Democrats are facing tough midterm elections. Many have pushed Biden to back the gas tax holiday, but some Democrats think the oil companies will pocket many of the savings consumers should be getting. Here's the thing about this. It sounds good. It will look good. But critics argue it's not a long-term solution. They think that, in 3 months, it'll go back up. And the bigger problem with this is that they don't have the votes to get it passed. Nancy Pelosi has already said that she doesn't believe in this. And so that she doesn't really want to bring it to the House for a vote. But Biden knows that as well. And I think what the issue is it makes him look good. It says, hey, I am trying to help you guys. I put it before Congress. They didn't do it. And so because they didn't do it, don't hold that against me. Mm-hmm. I'm running for re-election. Make sure you vote for me. I tried to help.
That's a good point, that he's trying to make sure at least you see that something was done. But if it didn't go through, he says, hey, I tried. But this reminds me a lot of what happened with the rent moratorium. And that was my problem with that as well during the pandemic, is that we do a lot of Band-Aids. And so the problem with Band-Aids is that they're temporary. After they wear off, the stickiness wears off, then the wound is still there and you're still exposed to whatever else. And so that's my best analogy that I can come up with. And so this 18 cents, although it is going to help, 3 months is not enough to see a big improvement. Thank you. Impact and improvement. Thank you. Both of those words work. And so, yes, I'm with you that it's like, this is great, but we also need to make a big change. But I don't think that it's an overnight switch that we can do to see a big change in gas prices right now.
Yeah, I agree. And, you talk about, if we do this for 3 months, it's not going to affect the Highway Trust Fund. I don't think it ever would affect that. We just sent billions of dollars to Ukraine. If we can find that money, we can still make sure our highways and streets get taken care of. What this is going to affect is people's pockets here in America, because you still have certain cities and certain gas stations that are still going to hike up their price. They're going to get their money because we need gas to get to work, to get our essentials and things of that nature. So it's an ongoing problem. I hate the fact that he even brought it up, because it's like a false promise that's really not going to help us.
It does feel kind of like a false promise.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Well, we'll see how this all turns out. I do believe our president is doing the best that he can with what he has. All right, the House of Representatives failing to pass a bill that would have created a communications network that would warn people when an active shooter is in their community. The Active Shooter Alert Act failed to pass despite having bipartisan sponsorship. Now, 16 Republicans helped introduce the bill. One Democrat and 161 Republicans voted against this bill. 161. Make sure you know that, soulmates. Now, sponsors of this bill, they say the alert system would act much like an Amber Alert system that would notify people in the area area of any active shooters. Speaker Nancy Pelosi says the House bill, it would bring up the bill again, and Democrats will pass it. 161 Republicans voting against it is extremely shocking based on the amount of people that we've seen die in recent days, different ages, different backgrounds, different races. It doesn't matter. Mass shootings have not been discriminatory against you based on whatever your makeup is. And so it's interesting that Republicans would vote against something that would let you know that there's an active shooter in your area. And I really thought this would be lovely because it's so interesting for Buffalo. He was in a chat room beforehand letting people know that he was about to carry out the act, a chat room letting people know, hey, this is what's going on in the area. Sending stuff out immediately would have been so perfect. So many lives I feel like could have been saved.
Possibly.
And we've all got the Amber Alerts, right? That loud noise. Your phone is sitting over there, and then all of a sudden it just starts going off, and you're like, what is this? It makes you look at your phone. It makes you realize. It makes you read it. You know, why? I don't understand why someone would vote against that.
Not even someone, 161.
You're right, 161 someone's would vote. There's no harm, no foul. Like, you're literally just helping people. Like, what is it?
You know, and you think about our country's divided when it comes to certain things. We understand that. But when it comes to mass shooting, these bullets, they don't care what color you are, what age. It's been proven, right? 10 black people killed in Buffalo. You have the young kids killed in Uvalde. We've seen what happened over the last decade with school shootings. These bullets do not care. The problem is the people that have these bullets in their hands, in those guns. How can we let people know, give them a chance? And even when you spoke about the Buffalo situation, he was in the chat room. I believe we talked about a former FBI guy was in the chat room. Anyone doing that chat could have possibly alerted and said something as well. So we have to do better in this country.
That's a really good point. And they could have sounded this alarm. They could have saved more lives. Then after that, we had that rash of shootings everywhere. We talked about it here, Philadelphia, Tennessee. I mean, just think about that. If an alert had come to your phone, you knew there was something going on, you could have avoided the area. I mean, I don't understand why this is a bad thing. So hopefully Nancy Pelosi will be able to bring it back to a vote and get it passed.
We would definitely see. All right, civil rights groups are calling on the President Biden to sign an executive order creating a commission to study slavery and reparations in the United States. Calls for reparations have grown louder since last month's Buffalo grocery store massacre, in which a white gunman killed 10 black people. The president says he supports a reparations commission and would sign a H.R. 40, the reparations bill in Congress, if it were to pass. But Democratic strategists say Biden is reluctant to sign an executive order for commissions months before the midterm elections. They believe there will be political blowback that would hurt Democrats at the polls.
And Brooklyn Center, Minnesota will pay $3.25 million to the family of Dante Wright. He's a young black man who was killed during a traffic stop by a cop who says she mistook her gun for a taser. Now, the agreement will also change the way police officers are taught to handle traffic stops. The financial settlement is the third largest civil rights wrongful death payment in state history. Now, the officer who killed Wright, Kim Porter, now she was convicted of first and second degree manslaughter, but she was only sentenced to 2 years in prison.
Meanwhile, Minnesota's Supreme Court says the mayor of Minneapolis has not met the legal duty to hire more police officers. Chief Justice Lori Gildia ruled Mayor Jacob Frey has a clear legal duty under the city's charter to staff the department with 731 cops. City officials say about 300 less officers are on the force than there were in 2020 when George Floyd was killed. They say the mayor is working hard to fill vacant positions, and former Minneapolis police officials say the lack of officials and officers has contributed to early retirement by police executives.
A spokesman for Russian President Vladimir Putin says Brittney Griner will not receive any special treatment. In an exclusive interview, Dmitry Peskov, hundreds of Russian citizens have been prosecuted for carrying harsh, and they all do their time. They all will do their time. Griner was arrested in February at a Moscow airport and charged with having vape cartridges as well as containing hash oil in her luggage. The U.S. State Department is classifying Griner as being wrongfully detained and has its hostage negotiating unit working on her release. The Russians say they don't like how the U.S. refers to her detention.
No, I cannot guarantee anything. It depends on the investigation. Russia is not taking hostages, and again, I'm strongly opposing the world hostages in this sense.
Meanwhile, Sherelle Griner, the basketball player's wife, is urging President Biden to speak to her and her family. Sherelle says she has asked to speak to the president but has not heard back from the White House. Griner says the State Department over the weekend failed to coordinate a scheduled phone call between she and Brittney.
And former Florida gubernatorial candidate Andrew Gillum is facing a 21-count federal indictment for wire fraud. Now, Gillum was charged along with his mentor, Sharon Letman Hicks, for fraudulent fundraising between 2016 and 2019. The Department of Justice says the two diverted some of the money to a company controlled by Hicks, who fraudulently disguised the funds as payroll to Gillum. Now, Gillum lost a close race for governor to Ron DeSantis in 2018. He was an up-and-coming star in the Democratic Party. It all ended when he was found in a drunken stupor with a male prostitute in a hotel room. Talk about a fall from grace.
I mean,
I just remember him on TV with Obama. They were going door to door, for lack of better words, campaigning. I think the sad part of all of this is that he was actually within 34,000 votes of becoming the next governor of Florida. And here we are. You know, what happened to him in the Miami hotel where he was found with the male prostitute and all the pictures that came out. You know, America has a short memory. So I think he could have come back from that.
Yes.
He went on Tamron Hall. He talked about how he was bisexual. His wife stood next to him and they were going to make it work. And, you know, out of mind, out of sight, right? Like, people would have forgotten about it. He could have made a political comeback in a couple of years and people would have, you know, they would have talked about it, but it wouldn't be front page news. He is now facing 5 years in federal prison, 20 years for, up to 5 years for one charge, 20 years for conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and another 20 for the act of wire fraud. He appeared in court yesterday with shackles and handcuffs. I mean, some of those images right there, I think, are going to be some of the things that people cannot get out of their head, will not be able to unsee. He's accused of defrauding campaign contributions upwards of $250,000. So, you know, and then he tried to cover it up by making fake campaign documents. So there are just things that he did here that I think this is where we say goodbye.
You know, the thing is that I think that America has a short memory, but also the photos were so shocking, Mimi, of the hotel that I don't think that people were able to just forget it altogether. I do believe that is still in people's mind when they think about him. When I think of Andrew Gillum, that's the first thing that I think of, like, ooh, those photos were really, really shocking. So the difference is of the photos, that is his personal life. That's his personal life. That's his own personal business. Right. That's not my business, right? But when you start dealing with people's money, that's my business. And when I give money to your campaign, when there are campaign finance laws that are set in place to stop things like this, and so you have people who take advantage of other people's money, then that's when other people have a problem. And that's, like you said, the fall from grace is kind of like those two together. It's just not a good combination.
When you look at things, it's called moving money. That's when I have conversation with people. This moving money is a problem. We had that issue when we talk about Black Lives Matter, right? There's a lot of money there on the table. What are we doing with it? How is it helping the cause? And here's another situation. I think this has sealed his deal to come. There's no coming back from this situation. It's so unfortunate. It really, really is.
It really is.
Yeah, I think this is it.
While Marjorie Taylor Greene calls Black Lives Matter activists terrorists, her husband invests money in companies that support the organization. Business Insider magazine says that Perry Greene purchased $295,000 worth of stock in companies that openly support BLM and LGBTQ plus rights. Both groups the Republican Congresswoman is staunchly against. Perry Greene bought stock in Costco, Goldman Sachs, Home Depot, as well as other large Fortune 500 companies that have donated money to progressive political causes. Now, the information comes from financial disclosures Greene made earlier this week with the House of Representatives.
Mural Bowser is on her way to a third term as mayor of Washington, D.C., but it was the white, richer section of the city that helped her beat out two black city councilmen. While Bowser raked in 10,000 more votes than her nearest opponents, Robert Wright, the mayor, has had a tough time convincing black residents in the city that she cares about them. The district isn't the same city longtime Mayor Marion Barry governor. Now, in the 1980s, D.C. was 80% black. Now it's only 45% African-American and 37% white. The city has become too expensive for many longtime residents. They are moving to the nearby Maryland suburbs because of housing prices. Bowser is all about assured of winning the November general election. Democrats outnumber Republicans in the city more than 8-1.
And Louisville Mayor Greg Fisher is apologizing to African-American residents in his city for the city's role in racism and discrimination. Now, Fisher has been criticized for his handling of the police in the killing of Breonna Taylor in 2020. During a Juneteenth luncheon last week, Fisher said he would fight injustice in the city for the remaining time that he is mayor of Louisville. During the event, the mayor also cited slavery, urban renewal, and other instances of injustice in his city against black people.
The owner of an insurance company in Maine is coming under fire for a sign that was posted to the business's door on Juneteenth. The sign on that door of Harry E. Reid Insurance says, "Juneteenth, it's whatever. We're closed." You can see it on the screen right there, Soulmates. It says, "Enjoy your fried chicken and collard greens." The note was posted on Facebook as well. The person who posted the note says that racism is in this town and is very much so real. The owner of the insurance company, which is an affiliate of Progressive Insurance, did not respond to reporters' calls for comment, but a Progressive spokesperson says they are aware of the appalling sign and they are ending their relationship with the agency. Round of applause to Progressive, because they are an affiliate, but they're like, hey, we don't even want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. And so that's why I feel like we talked about Juneteenth feeling more like a real holiday, because people don't really say this about Martin Luther King Day. People don't really say this about some other Black History Month, because they know for sure deep down ingrained that this is a holiday that the world takes seriously, that Black people take seriously, white people take seriously, Latino people take seriously. And so Juneteenth needs to, hopefully by next year, feel more impactful so that you know this is not a holiday that we're playing about. Like, we're serious about this. We're going to be off on Juneteenth. Like, just more action needs to feel like Juneteenth is a real holiday, because clearly people think it's a joke.
Yeah, I think it will as time goes on. I think Dr. Martin Luther King Day started out where people weren't too really sure about it. And I think Arizona just started celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Day. So we'll see. But this sign is just, I mean, they forgot watermelon. They put everything else on there.
But that.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, what, like, the audacity of a business, right? And like you said, kudos to Progressive, because I don't think that people really realize that there are consequences for your actions. So whoever typed that out and thought it was a funny joke, now they're going to feel it in their pockets.
Yeah, Progressive got aggressive with backing off in this
Progressive
situation, right?
There you
and
go.
that sign is a true sign of racism. So at the end of the day, like, if you live in that city, or if that was one time your insurance company, you have to look at, no matter if you're Black, white, Asian, Latino, and say, this is something I do not want to be a part of, because they're not here for the human race, they're not here for our country, because this day means something. Know the history. Know that and respect that. And
also, people have been commenting reviews on the insurance website as well, letting people know, like, do not go to this place, because this place, they're going to lose a lot of money after that.
Oh, yeah.
The reviews are just terrible.
That brand's going to have to shut down.
Exactly.
Shut it down. All right, teeth are being used to help identify the victims of the Tulsa Race Massacre. Investigators have found enough usable DNA for testing on 2 of the 14 sets of remains removed from a local cemetery. The death toll from the 1921 massacre is estimated to have been 300. The DNA sequencing is expected to begin next month. Investigators are trying to make sure the bodies put in a local Tulsa cemetery are those of victims of the killings.
A Black Baptist minister is accusing white ministers in his denomination of being whores for Trump. Now, Pastor Kevin Smith made the statement at the recent Southern Baptist Convention in Anaheim, California.
Some Southern Baptists lost their minds when a Black man was elected president. Not all, but some. I think some Southern Baptists were unloving to Black people beginning in 2012 with the killing of Trayvon Martin. I don't mean to agree about politics or policy. I just mean giving a darn that somebody else is hurt who's supposed to be your brother or sister in Christ. And I think some Southern Baptists just bent over and became political whores.
His statements were met with boos by the group. The Southern Baptist Organization has been a staunch supporter of the former president, but other Christian denominations and religious groups believe his views and actions are antithetical to the teachings of Christ. And they are.
Yeah.
And kudos to this Black man for standing up and saying what needs to be said, because my Christianity, my God, does not preach hate and does not believe in all the things that Trump stood for. So I'm glad that he said that to a group of people who were Trump supporters, and they needed to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, you know, they look taken back from his statement.
And so was I. Yeah. I mean, I was a little taken back because, I mean, you think about, like you said, like Christianity and faith and things like that. There's also a certain level of, you know, that you want to give off to. I don't know if this was the right place or the right words. However, I do understand what you're saying, that it needed to be said.
It needed to be said. Maybe whores for Trump wasn't good. Is that the sticky point for you?
That's the sticky point. That's just kind of like, you know, sometimes the words that you choose can discredit everything that you just said. And so not you, but I'm saying like people. So him saying whores for Trump can kind of like discredit the whole message, because now we're talking about whores for Trump versus the actual message that you're trying to convey. Yeah. Exactly. Gotcha. So yeah. All right, a judge is declaring a mistrial in the wrongful death suit against Suge Knight. Compton Superior Court Judge Thomas Long took the action yesterday after jurors announced they could not get 9 votes needed to reach the verdict. Suge is being sued by the family of Terry Carter, brought the suit. That's who brought the suit. Now, Suge is currently in prison serving time for running Carter over during a fight with his SUV near the set of the film. Straight out of Compton, you might remember that story. That happened back in 2015. Now, jurors deadlocked 7-5 in the findings of the Knight libel case.
The family of an Army veteran is looking for answers after his body was found hanging in a Pennsylvania park. The Shade Room says the body of Dante Perez Jones was discovered on June 17th. Police in Bluebell, Pennsylvania have ruled his death a suicide and closed the case. Dante's mother, Latina Dean, says the case should be treated as a murder.